Okay, well, yes, indeed. Let's get your opinion on all of this. Yes, we've seen them meet, including those who, with thoughts, that's the public now, perhaps were not pulling in the right direction. But now that they had this expanded security meeting and given some marching orders, what do you think?
My take is that if the country is lucky, the country may just have begun a journey that may lead to finding the solutions to the problems that has engulfed the country. And this journey must be in two directions. First and foremost is for the country to go back to the basics. That is to trace a step back as far as possible to where we believe we may have lost the touch to it, how to manage our security problems, and then at the same time, keeping our tap on the events that are unfolding from two perspectives, because that is the urgent thing that is before the country now, is to make sure that we minimize further casualties on people, is for the government to engage perpetually with all the stakeholders at the community level, at the government level, at the state level, at the local government level. Everybody that is available for engagement must be taken seriously. Any information that reaches the government must treat it with the utmost urgency that it requires. The second thing is to look at the long-term program that must commence immediately. There is a pool of unemployed graduates in the country. The government must employ them immediately and commence a training programs for surveillance, or information gathering, security restructuring in the form of having a large pool of people to gather information in a manner that is practiced all over the world, so that we can foresee some of these problems sufficient enough for us to be able to plan against them. And we also must take from yesterday's meeting that every governor, every local government chairman, the president, all the officials of government, that we are all in this soup together, and that statements that must encourage togetherness, encourage to give hope to ordinary people, because everybody looks up on the government, whether you're at the local government level, or the state government level, or the federal government, for one purpose. First, his security. If he's secured, he can afford to think about going to his farm. If he's secured, he can afford to begin to think about his child going to school. If he's secured, he can begin to think about his child going to the hospital or going to the market or to do any other business that, for God's sake, any living person would like to do. But if we begin to trade words, about blames and playing to the gallery, it's going to hurt this country beyond a point where there will be no return journey. And we in government, for whichever purpose, this is the time of restraint. And I think the government officials must restrain themselves from reacting to comments that are inflammatory. Because there is no win-win situation when I say something that is wrong and the government reacts to it. Because in time of war, the focus of government is to win the war, not to win the battles. The battles will come in forms of distractions, of comments from people who we believe maybe are not with government and so on and so forth. And we must have a lot of restraint in finding a way to manage such information. And in every statement that comes out from anybody at whatever level, my opinion is that there is something in that statement for the government to take to explore to see how they can combat the situation that we have at hand. And this has not been the case, and we're very glad that reasoning has prevailed, and this yesterday's meeting is very gladdening and is very strategic for the country. At the same time, we must go back to certain values that we have always practiced in the past across the country in every ethnic setting, that the community level is the hub, is the unit, is the point at which everything that happens in the community it comes to bear. And so if this government can deploy a security system that will start picking information that have been neglected, they will be able to pick up this thing that are becoming like an albatross for the country. And therefore, I think yesterday's meeting was very gladdening and it's very strengthening that the country may be on its way to securing security for the country in due course. This is my opinion about what happened yesterday, and I think the tempo should be sustained. The federal government has done that now. The state government should go back to their states and invite all stakeholders, everybody that's involved at the community, and it should be perpetual. It is not just reacting to an event, and then because the security has improved, people don't longer engage in their responsibilities. The primary responsibility of government is security of the people, and so we now have a problem at hand. At every level, I think, the governments must now perpetually engage itself in making sure that people live in peace. This peace must not also be negotiated in Abuja or in Kaduna or in the headquarters. We should go back to the community level And these are some of the activities that maybe some of the agencies that have been charged with orientating the mentality of the people, because we've lost our ID for a long time now. And that's the other aspect I was saying, that we have a journey backwards. We must go back to become Nigerians again and know that the responsibility at every point is ours to manage. And that if it's happening with Mr. A, it could happen to you. And we have seen that from the time where we thought it was happening in the Niger Delta, it's not happening in the north, so it's the Northern Delta's problem. It's happening among the poor people. It's no longer. But we have seen today that parents of rich people, people in government have been kidnapped and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a overnight rain for everybody if we don't wake up to the responsibility that it's ours to really manage. And I just pray that everybody has a restraint and remain focused on the war, not on the battles that have been lost in any form that it has come.
You've spoken about how this really gladdens your heart, and you know how this is a very good sign, the meeting of the governors, that is. And you've also touched a bit on what you expect the governors to do by holding meetings with stakeholders. But a lot of people fear that much as the governors are holding these meetings and presenting a united front, it might not exactly trickle down at the community level, especially with the 2015 elections so close. What is your take on that?
If I heard you right, I think that when we say you are the chief executive of a state and you're the chief security of a state, it behoves on you that every individual in that state is your responsibility to protect. There is no governor in any state in this country that does not have right and access to engaging at unit level, at ward level. The Constitution has even made it easier that this security thing between Christians and Muslims, ethnic settlers, and all sorts of things can continuously be engaged, can continuously be put in place. A platform can be generated for this thing, because we lost touch with ourselves. Everybody is talking about issues that have nothing to do with the daily returns of everybody. We're talking about federating units, emancipation and oppression and so on, when we are really oppressing ourselves. So I think the state governments have the utmost responsibility now to carry out the spirit of yesterday's meeting down to the unit level and ensure that this thing is continuous in a manner that eventually we can now have a template that will secure, will generate information that can now be used at every level to make sure that the country has a greater peace and opportunity to engage in other activities like the economic activities of the country.
Mr. Keana, I don't know if you quite heard me, but my question was more about how this togetherness, this working together amongst political parties is going to be sustained ahead of the 2015 elections. I don't know if you understood that.
Okay, and I get you now. Exactly, this is what it is. Once you have a responsibility at any given point, whether it's a PDP-controlled state government or a APC-controlled state government or level-controlled government, the most important responsibility of the government in power is to ensure that the player from Party B plays the games according to the rules. And it means that he that is in control of the Party A, like for instance, if PDP is in government in Nasarawa state, it is the responsibility of the PDP government in Nasarawa state to ensure that anybody who is in APC and wants to participate or engage in economic political activities has the full right to be able to do that without hindrance in any form. If he wants to hold a rally and he goes to seek permission, he should be given permission. If the youth of APC want to carry out activities in any part of the state or any part of their local government, it is the responsibility of a PDP government in that state to ensure that he allows the police to be able to give them the permission to be able to do that. So it is the responsibility of the state government first and foremost to act in line that it cannot be held responsible for any distraction from another party that is being biased. So and it's also in the interest of the government in power to know that if there is no peace, there will be no election. And therefore, I think that this can be carried out. The president has demonstrated it. He has brought everybody to board yesterday. And therefore, every state government should now go back and do the same thing, carry all parties along, all the stakeholders, wherever they come from. This is what I've said in a program like this before. Once there's a security problem, the government has a responsibility to call all stakeholders, both those who are being affected and those who they believe are being undermined, to come together and secure the locality first. If you don't secure the locality, there is no way you can have peace to be a governor in a state. And therefore, I think it's not a choice. It is a must that every governor must take the spirit of yesterday's meeting down to the grassroots.